My name is Kirti and I'll be presenting the topic motion-based image segmentation for my class Computer Vision and Image Processing. So what is change detection? The change detection is needed because there's an increased interest in identifying the regions of the images that have undergone substantial variation as compared to their previous images. So, they are used in a variety of applications like remote sensing, video surveillance, biomedical imaging, and I'll be talking about them in the presentation. So, detecting changes in an image is aimed at reducing the unnecessary changes that are due to a variation in light, camera motion, or variety of other factors that are not actually the things that have changed in the image. The conventional methods involve image registration, but it is a challenge in itself. So, we'll be talking about a new technique, motion segmentation, that overcomes this problem of image registration. But first, I'll talk about the applications of change detection. It is widely used for medical diagnosis. Like if we see this image, it is from digital retina imaging, and it really helps in the field of modern ophthalmology. It is really helpful because it lets the doctor know the exact graphical representation of how the things are going on in the body, and how the disease has manifested and how it is getting better. And then it is also used in uh, conducting the for civil infrastructure, underwater sensing, and driver assistance systems, because it lets you analyze the environment, see the changes. It is really helpful for detecting the forest fires, the agricultural changes that are happening. So, another application of change detection is remote sensing. It is the importance of understanding the changes in the environment has been more and more important in the wake of sudden rise in disasters. Apart from mitigating the disasters, the change detection also helps in quantifying and mapping the changing environmental conditions on our planet. Change detection is also employed in video surveillance applications. So if we see this picture, it shows the regions where new water has emerged, or the gray area is the one where there's no change, and then this area, green region, is where vegetation is, and light blue regions, the smaller regions here, is like what did not change too much. So it really helps in getting the overall view of what has changed. So what basically is change detection is that to detect a change in the image, we usually follow three main steps. First is image registration. It involves the removal of unwanted modifications that are caused by camera movement. Then there are radiometric or intensity adjustments that are caused due to the regulation of intensity, so that we can remove the discrepancies caused by light and noise. The stochastic modeling helps in identifying the region which provide changes of interest to us. This is achieved by the hypothesis test and stochastic modeling methods. So this diagram is basically what explains how change detection takes place. We take two images, then we carry on this radiometric adjustment, that is intensity adjustment. Then we go for the geometry adjustment, and then we apply the hypothesis and do the testing, and then we see the changed mask. But the problem with this technique is that it is really difficult to achieve because we don't have any prior knowledge of the camera motion or the objects in the scene. So what we did in this project is we eliminated the problem of image segmentation and we introduced motion segmentation. So methods of image segmentation include edge detection, intensity thresholding, but both of these provide information about only a single frame of image, whereas we need to understand about a sequence of images. Motion segmentation is basically a kind of image segmentation, but it provides a benefit of robustness against the camera motion. It involves slicing a picture or a frame from a sequence of images into motion-based regions and getting to know what really changed. This method is able to distinguish the global motion from the local motion. What is global motion? It is the one that is that is not actually the change. It is caused due to camera motion. And then there's local motion, that is actually the change in the image. Motion segmentation technique is used in a number of technologies like MPEG-4, which is a common technique for audio and video compression. So how we implemented this algorithm was, we took two images like at different times, the same scene at different times, then we estimated the motion field with the help of optical flow vector, then we segmented the motion field into regions with different motion. This is called the segmentation of the motion field. And in step 3, we estimated the global motion vector. So that helped us in separating the local motion from the global motion. So what we achieved in the end was a global motion vector, a local motion vector, and regions of change. Step 1 is motion field estimation. Motion field is an ideal representation of a 3D motion as it is projected into a camera image. Motion field estimation can be achieved with the help of optical flow equation, and we applied this optical flow equation in the form of Lucas-Canaday algorithm. I'll talk about it more in detail. So what is optical flow? It is a method of estimating the motion of objects within a visual representation. Motion can be represented in the form of a vector that indicates the speed and the direction of a pixel while it is traveling across the image. This is particularly helpful in analyzing and interpreting images. There are several techniques like gradient-based algorithms, feature-based, and correlation-based. But why do we prefer gradient-based algorithms is because they are easy to implement mathematically and they are computationally effective. In this project also we've used gradient-based motion estimation technique that was proposed by Lucas and Canaday. So what basically happened was the main assumption of this algorithm is that the shift seen in the image contents between two approximate moments is very small, and it is about the constant. It is almost constant in that neighborhood of point under consideration. Therefore, it can be said that the optical flow equation can be applied to all the pixels within a window at the center and not like some corner or something. So therefore, optical flow equation gives us the estimate for motion field. When I ran that algorithm for this was I took two images, some sequence of images, they were taken at different time, and applied the Lucas-Canaday experiment on that. This is how we obtained the flow, optical flow of this image. Now I'll move on to step 2, that is the motion field segmentation. Optical field of a pixel can be defined by a two-dimensional vector that indicates how the pixel travels in the scene. Next step for detecting the changes in an image or a scene is to section the information into consistent subsets so as to facilitate the representation and interpretation of each subset. One of the most commonly used methods for data segmentation is to decompose the combination of all models into a single one concurrently. Some of the methods to solve this problem include expectation maximization algorithm and k-means clustering. But what we have used is minimum length description criteria. This is because otherwise this problem is really difficult to solve because we don't know how many segments we should divide it into because we don't know the number of models for the data. So how did we apply the minimum length description criteria is that we compute the desired coding length once the data is segmented into various groups. Supposing the set of data that we have is already segmented into n groups that do not overlap, then the length of the coding after segmentation can be represented in the form of this matrix, where pi ji represents the probability of the jth vector belonging to the ith group. Merging the regions of segments in a bottom to up manner is the only way to find the optimal solution for coding length problem. Step 3. It is to estimate the global motion vector. For the purpose of identifying the actual motion, that is the local motion, not the global one, we first need to separate the global motion from local motion. This is almost similar to separating the background and foreground in a stationary image. But remember, we have a sequence of images, so it is as good as moving ones. This problem is best solved with a heuristic which takes into account the characteristics of motion segments. Other methods like motion transformation and rectifying the image are efficient for most of the cases, but they have two major disadvantages. First, they are expensive to implement computationally, and second, they are not so efficient in the presence of noise. So how do we estimate the global motion vector? We use this algorithm that I'll be explaining to you. We assume that the global motion contains the corners of the scene, although this is not always true, but this supposition along with the variance static can almost always help in estimating the global motion. For every segmentation we get, we look for the motion regions with maximum number of corners. In case there are multiple segments having corners that are important to the scene, then we choose the segment that has the minimum variance in motion vectors so that it symbolizes the global motion. Then the basic idea is to take the average of all the motion vectors in the region, and once we take the average after the appropriate segment has been selected. Step 4 is estimating the local motion vector, that is separating local motion from the global motion. That was basically our goal. This can be done by removing the global motion as we implemented in the previous step, and this is done by using the steepest descent minimization algorithm. What we obtain at the end of this process are the regions that suffered actual change and separate instances of local and global motion vectors. Regions of change signify the areas with local motion. So what we conclude from this experiment is that this paper has actually implemented a new technique for detecting changes in an image sequence by using motion segmentation technique. Segmentation has been achieved by using minimum length coding. This paper has also introduced a heuristic for separating global motion from local motion. Using this motion segmentation and global motion separation, a change detection algorithm was written. So what is so special about this technique? It is that we do not need the image registration because now we can actually separate the local motion from the global motion. This makes it very easy to identify the actual changes in the image sequence without having to worry about the changes that were caused due to camera motion. So what can we improve in this process is that we can improve the accuracy of calculating the motion segmentation and global motion detection. And even we could include the texture of the images while calculating the motion segmentation and global motion segmentation. This is the stuff where I picked up my stuff from, and I would like to thank Dr. Wu for helping me throughout the course, and thank you for watching.